Yuri Bezmenov.
Yep, that's him.
Yuri Bezmenov gave a speech describing exactly America in 2023, describing how Russia had eroded all of our institutions and gotten in there and implanted ideas of Marxism and reinforced these ideas, and that this was undoubtedly going to lead to the demise of America. But the way he lays it out.
Hello, YouTubers. Alaska Prepper here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, I want to say that we did really good. I'm going to be able to give away 7 reverse osmosis water filtration units from SIMPURE. So those of you that entered to win, be on the lookout, because I'm going to announce the winners here within the next week to 10 days or so. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this. I made a video about this a really long time ago. It's been years now, but it's worth talking about now so that we can go over all of these things together, and hopefully it can be a good teaching moment for those of you that maybe are not aware of this, and you can share this video with your children. These are the 20 most chilling insights from Yuri Bezmenov. I believe that he used to be a KGB agent back when Russia used to be the Soviet Union. So how the KGB's playbook is destroying the West today. I've talked about this in the past, that these processes take a long time. Right? These people plan ahead generations. And some of you in the past have said, oh, really, AP? They've been planning this for the last 20 years or 30 years? Yes, they have. I'm only going to call him Yuri, all right? Not out of disrespect, but because the entire name is so long, right? Yuri, also known as Thomas David Schumann, that's better, was a Soviet journalist and KGB operative, specializing in what? One of the most powerful tools that governments have to use against their people: propaganda and ideological subversion. Ideological subversion is the process of bending a society's perception of reality so completely that it destroys itself. For those of you in the United States of America and in many Western nations, I mean, look at the UK, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on over there. Do you think that maybe this has been occurring in our nations over the last several decades? I would say yes. Just take a look around. In the Cold War era, few voices pierced the veil of secrecy as profoundly as that of Yuri, a KGB defector whose chilling expose on ideological subversion still resonates today, and I would say more than ever. His warnings, drawn from the first-hand experience of when he was in the Soviet Union after blueprints of destroying free societies, not through bombs, not through invasion or disease, but through the poisons of manipulated ideas and cultural decay. I think it was Lincoln that said that the United States of America will never be taken over by invasion, but that if it ever fell, it would fall from within. And just take a look at what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, if you take a look at the UK, I believe that the UK has completely fallen. They have been completely taken over. And hopefully things will turn around from them. But in my opinion, I believe that it's going to take a revolution or some kind of civil war for them to gain their country back. Ideological subversion is a long-term process spanning 15 to 60 years. That's 2 to 3 generations, ladies and gentlemen, designed to change the perception of reality in a target nation without a need for military force. So it's pretty much changing the culture in a way of a nation without having to do it with force, just doing it through subversion and propaganda, through the media, through the schools, etc. Only about 15% of KGB efforts focused on traditional espionage. The majority target psychological warfare and ideological manipulation. The goal is to demoralize a society by undermining its moral, education, and cultural foundations, making people unable to recognize or defend against threats. Now, if you couple these ideological and propaganda attacks against the American people with all of the other things going on, like the devaluation of the dollar, everything getting so expensive that people are merely working to live instead of working to be able to have a life. It's even worse, ladies and gentlemen. You can see the position that we are in today. Demoralization takes 15 to 20 years, the time needed to educate one generation with subversive ideas. And isn't that what's going on in our schools? Number 5, educational systems at all levels are key targets, turning schools into indoctrination centers that promote relativism over facts and critical thinking. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is coming from a person that was a KGB agent, right? He used to practice, all right, these skills on his foes. Media infiltration sows confusion by amplifying divisive narratives and discrediting objective truth. So how you feel is more important than what the actual truth is. Religion is attacked by portraying it as outdated or oppressive, eroding spiritual anchors and replacing them with state loyalty or nihilism. So remember that video that I put up a few days ago about Pray for New York? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think I lost several subscribers to that video, which is okay. But you have to remember that socialism has never worked. Communism has never worked, especially for the good of the people. It only works for those that are in power. And this person that got elected to mayor in New York, he's going to be fine. It doesn't matter what kind of policies he implements, he's going to be fine. Right? Because he is sitting on the top and he's going to be looking down on those whom he feels are his subjects. Anyways, I digress. Number 8, family structures are weakened through promotion of individualism, divorce, and alternative lifestyles that fragment social cohesion. And that's what happened when they started the war on poverty back in 1964, I believe, with Johnson, Lyndon B. Johnson. Once he started the war on poverty, poverty got worse and the family unit started to break down. Again, this is something that takes generations. Moral relativism blurs right and wrong, leading to apathy and inability to unite against a society's true enemies. And isn't that a fact? Here in the U.S., we have different parties, we have different factions of different thoughts that are fighting against each other instead of us coming together and fighting the real enemy, which is oppression. History is rewritten to vilify national heroes and traditions, fostering self-doubt and guilt in the populace. Does anyone remember the tearing down of statues of our founding fathers and founding figures? Following demoralization, destabilization lasts 2 to 5 years, targeting the economy, foreign relations, and defense to create internal chaos. Number 12. Economic sabotage widens class divides, sinks the middle class, and breeds resentment through inflation, shortages, and inequality. And that is 100% true. Take a look at this. In the United States, the top 10% own 87% of stocks. That's why I've often said that it doesn't really matter what the stock market does. What the stock market does only affects a very small portion of our population. It doesn't affect mainly the working class. And this is even more important for us to realize how well of a job they've done at dividing us, not only ideologically, but also materialistically, all right? Because we all need money to live, at least in the world that I live in right now, man's world. All right, we all need money to be able to live. But take a look at this. U.S. household net worth by percentile. All right, the top 1% of U.S. household in the United States of America own 31% of net worth. All right, the top 90 to 99% own 38%. So the top 10%, not only do they own most of the stock market, but the top 10% own roughly 70% of all of the net worth in the U.S. Now, if you're in the 50th percentile or the middle class, you're at about 29%. But if you're in that bottom 50%, which is a lot, it's half of our country. Half of the country only owns about 1.9% of the net worth in the U.S., while the top 1% own 31%. So the top 1% own roughly 25 or so times more of the net worth of the U.S. than the bottom all 50%. That, ladies and gentlemen, has been a plan all along, and the Federal Reserve has been the culprit. And of course, the government passing policies and laws and regulations that allow banks to get away with what they get away with. Foreign policy is manipulated to isolate the nation, straining alliances and emboldening adversaries. Defense readiness erodes through budget cuts, internal division, or anti-military propaganda. Now, that's something that hasn't happened in the United States yet. Our defense, in my opinion, is stronger than ever, but at what cost? It comes at a very high cost. Have you seen our deficit lately? And all of defense spending is deficit spending. The crisis stage erupts in violence or upheaval where a demoralized and destabilized society demands radical solutions. And that's what happened in New York City. They demand radical solution, so they go to something that, although it's never ever worked, they hope that this time it will be different. During the crisis, people willingly surrender freedoms for promised security, paving the way for authoritarian control. And that's what I've said. We still have a lot of suffering to go before we make it to that other side, because our crisis hasn't even started yet. If you think that we are in the period of real crisis right now, just wait. Just make sure that you're prepared. And 17 says that normalization is the final phase, where subversive changes become the new normal, institutionalized and irreversible. You see some of these people that still wear masks outside? I still see them. I see some of them driving vehicles with a mask on. But normalization is, for example, inflation is normalization, right? So in the last 5 years or so, our food prices, I could say comfortably that they've doubled, right? On most things, not every single little thing, but on most things. Well, what they did first was, and I'm going to go ahead and pick ribeye, all right, as an example, because I still remember the numbers roughly. So I remember back around 2019, 2018 or so, a pound of ribeye at Costco here was roughly $6.99. And back then, I was even too cheap to buy. It's like, I'm not going to spend $7 a pound for this ribeye. You know, what in the world is so special about it? Believe it or not, I really never had ribeye. I just had the cheap steaks pretty much all my life. But one day I tried it and I loved it. But anyways, $6.99 a pound. That was about 5-6 years ago. Then we had COVID. And then the price of ribeye went all the way up to like $18.99 a pound. And this is just for the regular stuff. This is not for the really good stuff, the prime. It went all the way up to like $18.99 a pound. And then, now where's it at? Now it's stabilized a little lower. Now you can probably buy it here or there for about $14.99 a pound. But the $14.99 a pound is the new normal. It's the price that we're like, oh, that's not terrible. It's the price that we're willing to pay. Even though we were paying 5 years ago $6.99 a pound. See, so we've normalized the price of ribeye in this case to be, hey, it's all right that it's only $14.99 a pound. That's actually pretty good. So that's where normalization comes in. And we are getting towards that phase. 19, the process relies on useful idiots. Isn't that a fact? Well-meaning Western intellectuals, elites, activists, and leaders who unwittingly advance societal, I'm not sure if I can say that word even now on YouTube, but you can read it. Now, I know that every one of you knows someone like this. Once subversion succeeds, even exposure of the truth won't reverse it, as the population rejects facts and contradict their reprogrammed worldview. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that you can agree that a lot of these steps have already been taken here in the U.S. and have gone even further in other Western nations. Udi's insights resonate today for obvious reasons, from our fractured educational institutions, corrupted sciences, to zero trust in experts. Americans must heed Uri's warning, reclaim critical thinking, fortify culture, and reject divisive ideologies before the stage of subversion culminate in irreversible normalization. And I guess, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to see what happens. I think we have a heck of a fight in front of us in order for us to retain our freedoms long term. But if you stay prepared, and if you are prepared, you continue to be prepared, teach others how to prepare, talk to them about how important it is to prepare, We're going to be all right in the end. You know, all of these things that happen around us, you know, the things like the food banks going dry. If you haven't seen the video that I put up earlier today, take a look at that video, because ladies and gentlemen, what are we going to do when the food banks run out of food? What are people going to do? If you were prepared, you wouldn't be worrying about it. But if you're not prepared, you are worrying about it right now, especially if you're without a job or furloughed or whatever the case may be. Right? These things that go on around us, we can use those as learning opportunities to talk to others, to convince them that, hey, it does make sense to have some preps. And I bet you what, once they have a month's worth of preps under their bed or in a closet or storage room or whatever, they're going to feel really good about having that security. And I bet you that they'll only want to add on to it instead of take from it. Having said that, I hope you're having a great Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining in. I'm waiting on something to come in that I ordered in order for me to put up a prep video that's going to be great. I hope it is, because I think this item is going to be very important, especially for people that live in apartments. All right, since I live in an apartment now, I have to start thinking about preps that I can use in an apartment in case we lose electricity, heat, etc. But anyways, if it comes in today, I'll try to have it up this weekend. God bless every one of you. I love you all. And I truly mean that. I want to thank every one of you for all of your support. All right. So God bless all of you. I love you all. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.
To execution. There were names of pro-Soviet journalists with whom I was personally friendly.
Pro-Soviet?
Yes. They were idealistically minded leftists who made several visits to USSR. And yet, the KGB decided that come revolution or drastic changes in political structure of India, they will have to go.
Why is that?
Because they know too much. Simply because, you see, the useful idiots, the leftists who are idealistically believing in the beauty of Soviet socialist or communist or whatever system, when they get disillusioned, they become the worst enemies. That's why my KGB instructors specifically made a point, never bother with leftists. Forget about these political prostitutes. Aim higher. This was my instruction. Try to get into large circulation, established conservative media. Reach, filthy rich movie makers, intellectuals, so-called academic circles. Cynical, egocentric people who can look into your eyes with angelic expression and tell you a lie. These are the most recruitable people, people who lack moral principles, who are either too greedy or too suffer from self-importance. They feel that they matter a lot. These are the people who KGB wanted very much to recruit.
But to eliminate the others, to execute the others, don't they serve some purpose? Wouldn't they be the ones they rely on?
They serve purpose only at the stage of destabilization of a nation. For example, your leftists in United States, all these professors and all these beautiful civil rights defenders, they are instrumental in the process of the subversion only to destabilize the nation. When their job is completed, they are not needed anymore. They will be lined up against the wall and shot.